blue side. So they take the Vi out of Shadow hands as well. Also interesting to see BLG ban the Trundle. Tian, I don't think of as one of the big guys when it comes to Trundle on the recent patch, and that we talked about it for Shadows. But the Varus ban makes sense. Rumble's left up, but it's Xin Zhao that Tian is going to go after with a lot of the jungle pool decently wide open.
Yeah, there's quite a few of these second tier, I'd say, junglers still available. BLG, they're going to move towards the Wukong. It's something we highlighted. Yeah. It just works so well, and I really like it paired alongside this Taliyah. You can wreck teamfights by just stopping anyone else from dashing and then sending in your Wukong to knock everybody up. With a couple more damage dealers, that can help out. We are going to see the Orianna and the Sion, so you've got a lot of utility already available to you right now as Weibo, but you are putting quite a lot of pressure at this point onto what Light can do. He's going to need a lot of damage available to him if you don't want to fall behind.
And as we talk about BLG being one of the best early stage playing teams, I like that Knight gets to play this Taliyah that, you know, wave clearing ability between Orianna and Taliyah is pretty similar, but that Weaver's Wall, really want to see him get out on the map and try to affect other lanes to continue to snowball lanes like a Bin and Bessa that he's going to slam into the Sion. So already, the Bilibili way, they want Bin to just blow breathe out of the water early, and the rest of the team can never look back.
Absolutely, and if Bin is able to do that, that's a great way to be able to start this one off. You also have a decent couple of bits of setup to make sure that that public execution is a little bit easier to land. We'll see what On is going to pick up for himself as well, as to if it's going to be some nice point and click, I can just land that every time I want, because we've seen it's pretty tricky to actually be able to get down sometimes. Braum, Poppy, they're going to be taken off of the board right here by BLG, whereas Weibo, they're now trying to take away some of these aggressive bot lanes, and I'm not too surprised to see the Lucian taken off the board. I wonder if they also just want to get rid of Kai'Sa, if they're worried about that kind of just domination in the bot lane.
Maybe I would like to see a Rakan ban potentially. I do think Lover's Duo is a really solid swing here for BLG because On doesn't have a ton of pressure to be like a super primary engaged support. Nautilus, Leona, like these are all nice, but I think Rakan really works well into this comp with the Wukong alongside. Beautiful pairing. We'll see if the BLG bottom lane goes for something like that. As hey, you know, look at that. I can analyze drafts, guys. I don't just yell at what I see on the screen occasionally. What do you want to see here from the Weibo bottom lane, though, in response to that, Bloxer?
I feel like at this point you've got to go towards something that gives you a little bit more towards the early game. I wonder if you're kind of forced in this situation to take away the Xayah, because we've seen how strong the Xayah Rakan pairing can be at the moment, and that is the kind of early game aggression that you do potentially want. They're instead going to go towards the Corki. Yeah, in terms of champions particularly on my radar, not that. I mean, the damage is there, right? If you're stepping up close enough to deal the damage, though, do you actually get to survive? And yeah, as we were expecting, right, the second that we see the Rakan locked in, you're always going to get the Lovers Duo here in the bot lane.
So this is now Elk with the best range in the game of anybody. My problem with Corki is it's such a dangerous champion to play, handicapping a draft with low damage, and I'm really worried about Corki's effectiveness staring down a Wukong and a Bessa and a Rakan, which is the main setup, right? So if you eat that charm because you can't play too far away from your team, or you set up for just a lot of damage over top, when you are just such a huge sustainable damage threat on your team. So we'll see if Light can pilot it right, but warning signs. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that the overall draft works just a lot better right here out of BLG, and that's a shame because I really like the first three pickups. I think that the Sion, Xin Zhao, and Orianna gives you a great basis to build a composition off of, but I was hoping they were going to go towards something either like the Xayah to, again, bully out in the bottom lane, take it away from Elk, or just something with a little bit of extra range and some late game threat. I can imagine a Jinx potentially in this game. You get late enough into that one kill goes over, and you could start wrecking through people, but the Corki is pulling you very close to your opponents right here. For BLG, you are absolutely in your wheelhouse. This is what they like to play. This is their composition.
And I will say bottom lane is going to be fun because these are both great support AD carry pairings for that 2v2. Corki and Rel work wondrously together. Don't need to tell you guys on Rakan and Xayah nonetheless. But how do the junglers begin to affect that sort of notion? We'll have to see as Knight will, for the first time in Split 3, take on one of his former and dearest junglers in Tian, one he knows best. The jungler he's getting to know series by series at a time, to pretty great success so far But all that goes to the wayside, and we head on to Rift where BLG's already hunting, but they pause. And pause honorably as the Gyos come through. That one was pretty close too, Bloxer. I might give a slight edge to the BLG fans, though. Or at least the guy, the guy signaling for the Gyos. He had more gumption behind his BLG than the Weibo.
Yeah, those are some lungs on that dude to be able to make that much noise. It's always very impressive to hear the people leading the cheers, because you have to be so loud to get people hyped for them. And it's great to hear that both of the fan bases really pouring out for these teams. You can understand why BLG maybe we've got a couple more fans about. They've had so much recent success getting to MSI. I think they've got to be happy with getting to MSI after what happened to them in split number 1. But this is very much all going to be about Worlds for them now. And taking out Weibo, securing themselves second in Group Ascend right here, that's a great step towards that goal.
And like we highlighted with Top Esports and giving them credit for how they've done, it's one step at a time in this gauntlet of a Rumble stage as we see On already get flicked back towards Light. Decent amount of early damage out of the Courtly Gatling gun. On able to use that passive to get back up. Has to burn the heal to speed Elk away from a crash down. Already fireworks. Maybe not fireworks, little flames behind these two bottom lanes that we expect to be a fun 2v2.
Yeah, I mean, this bot lane could well be explosive, and this is something that we've been seeing increasingly. Actual 2v2 kills down on the bottom side. There was a while during end of Split 1, start of Split 2, where 2v2 kills felt incredibly rare. You were just kind of waiting to get into these skirmishes, and then you'd go fight. It's beginning to creep back in, and BLG, they've been great at getting themselves actual early pressure in the bot lane, potentially getting themselves a couple kills too. So see if Light and Crisp are going to be able to stand up to that, because so far, they've got themselves into a good spot in this lane. They have the push. And they know they could do that as well because they've got Tian making his way down towards the bottom side of the map.
Good call out there. Tian can be able to hover comfortably as Shadow's set up on that top side, which I also don't hate because I think he should be hovering for Bin in case Tian was up there trying to alleviate some of this pressure for Breathe in a lane that is only going to hurt more and more as this early phase goes on. The nature of playing Sion into really anybody in the top lane.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always going to be a little bit of a, hey, I'm just kind of trying to absorb pressure, not trying to lose too bad. To be fair, the Ambessa is really good into the Sion. You can just dash straight through it. It's very hard to actually land any of your longer charged up Qs, and that makes this matchup pretty tough for the Sion. Into Bin as well makes it that much scarier. Tian is going to pop up bot lane and going to catch Elk, trying to go for a ward.
Ghost is going to be popped here, but like we talked about, On is just so slippery.
Yeah.
He's able to cover for Elk well. Summoner is a small win, but Shadow's now looking in the mid lane, and Xiaohu does get flicked back by Knight, and the jump is on. Phase Rush, really helpful to get Xiaohu out, so he doesn't have to burn his flash, but he has given up some lane pressure in himself now.
And it was something we highlighted for good reason, right? Xiaohu's not necessarily been having the best time of it during the laning phases. He's been getting pushed around quite heavily. And because of that health that he's now lost out, Knight feeling more than comfortable to just keep stepping up.
Oh. Okay. Elk, classic AD carry player right here. He's like, oh, support gets knocked up. Dude, I've got like a 12 minion wave to handle. Look at this. He doesn't care. Elk doesn't care at all. He's like, yo, oh, you got this, man. I got to keep this freeze going on the top.
Good luck, buddy. Have fun. Yeah, does not mind at all. And he's right, too. The minion wave going to be much more important than potentially getting a flash out of Crisp. Gang from Tian.
Okay, I thought Bin was backing up. I kind of directed my attention back towards the map because surely he didn't want to scrap any further. But I guess maybe buying some time for Tian to get him off his camps. He does know that he's going to swap onto the spot side because Breathe is teleported down.
Nice little reset coming through right here. Bin gonna go rejoin his lane opponent down on the bottom side of the map. That does now mean that we've got these bot laners up on the top side right as the Drake is going to be spawning, so I'm not sure that we're going to get too much early priority going straight towards this one, as you don't really have some of those key members. That being said, you do have push established in the mid lane. If you do want to move towards it, no, it looks like instead it's just going to be a little bit of a steal away, try to take some of these chickens. You do know this is happening as Weibo. Smite fight.
Shadow exercising some caution. Tian will commit that. Smite, looking for the knockup on. Doesn't go for it, though, knowing how tricky it can be to lock down that Rakan. So Shadow Bit of an adventurous invade. Just gains information. The dragon is up, but that is partially why I like this swap for BLG, even though they did have to make it secondarily. Maybe lost some minions, give some solo XP to Light on the top side. With Bin down here with the Scion, they are aptly positioned for Shadow to just take this dragon on his own.
Yeah, absolutely. If they can just pick this one up, that should be a good step towards moving on towards the rest of the game. Bot laners, again, just looking at CS as On and Crisp. Once again, duke it out. These two have been going toe-to-toe so far, but much more important is just going to be picking up these waves. Currently, you've got a decent little CS advantage beginning to form for Elk. Obviously, you still need to get the rest of this wave picked up for Light, which should even things up a little bit. Both jungles actually working their way up, and Tian might get collapsed on here.
Don't worry, though. He got the scuttle. This is a win if he dies, right? Well, actually, he's not going to be the one under threat because Elk gets a good blade collar back onto Crisp. And the heal flash out of the Rel. So a key engage tool for Weibo if an early Grubs fight comes across. Going to be a bit limited.
If that crashdown hadn't have come through with the timing that it did, On would have been able to land that entrance, and it would have potentially been a kill right there for BLG. A lot of fighting been going on, a lot of scrapping back and forth, but neither of these teams quite been able to finish any of these kills off, seal the deal. And it means that things are still feeling very tense in this game number 1. Shadow heading back out. He's got himself a Sheen and a couple of components in the back pocket. He's going to be in a decently strong spot when it comes to this skirmishing. And as he is on the bottom side of the map, you have to turn your eyes towards the Drake and expect that we're going to see a little bit of priority on towards that. Thing is, though, we've spent enough time waiting, thinking about potentially getting the Drake, but it does mean the Grubs now going to be spawning in 30 seconds time.
I like where BLG is at for this. If they are fine giving up the Grubs, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think Weibo's not a team that particularly benefits heavily from the Grubs. You got Elk some extra solo XP time to catch the wave, and you have Shadow on the bot side who should be able, again, to just get this dragon for free. It's going to be a fine trade for BLG if they want to play the Drake stacking game instead of the Grubs game, which they are signaling like they're willing to do so at the current moment.
Same time, Shadow is potentially working his way up right
Good
now.
point,
Is going to cross over into the top side of the map. We saw the reset come through from Tian, so he's not going to be behind in terms of items now, and the Grubs do indeed spawn. We've also got both of our top laners teleportless right now, although interestingly, Breathe is heading back for a reset, and obviously with that unstoppable onslaught, he can join up to these team fights pretty quickly if he wants to.
We'll have to see a lot of bodies shifting into this river. Tian will secure that first grub. Unstoppable onslaught. That's not coming to the top river. Might have scared some people, but Breeze going back towards that bot side. Question becomes, will Shadow use the Trickster to get over the wall to secure the last grub? No. They're going to give away these grubs, and not for very much gain. The dragon still just chilling on the bot side of the map.
Yeah, exactly. I know that Chemtech is one of the Drakes that people don't necessarily prioritize too much, especially not as an individual, but at the same time, you could just trade it back for that one, not worry about giving over too many steps towards those feats. Pick yourself up a little bit of extra resistances, or is going to be useful. Instead, just going to make his way up towards the top side of the map is Shadow, and move things along. Level 6s have now come through for everybody, barring the supports, although they should be pretty close to being able to pick those up too. And that, I think, is going to put BLG in a decent spot to begin to go for these skirmishes. Between the Rakan and now a level 6'd up Wukong, these champions can very much go toe-to-toe.
This is where Shadow can really start operating in his element. Like we highlighted, he's been doing so well in the 2 series we've seen for BLG. You can already see him start to kind of hover this top side. He loves to do these little like lane gank setups to punish over-aggressive teams on wave states. And he's setting up a pretty juicy trap here now. But Light does spot on
Knight
coming over, and they don't know where Knight is. So Light, you have to be real careful about coming up for this wave. And just as I'm giving him praise, he gets completely collapsed upon. No point burning any summoners. Light just accepting his fate there. First blood over to BLG Knight.
Nice and easily going to be picked up here as well. You do get to establish a good push in the mid lane. That's going to blow a teleport most likely out of Knight into the mid lane. And you're going to pick yourself up the Drake, so you are trading this for objectives. Weibo, they're not going to be mad about losing out onto that kill, but there was no reason for Light to step up there. There have been far too many BLG champions off of vision for far too long for him to be stepping up to that wave. You can tell he backed off. He knew something was up, but he was like, it's fine.
He had the right idea. He had that spidey sense. It's just he didn't listen to it.
Yeah. should have trusted in his own instincts a little bit more. That is going to give an early kill over to Knight, so that puts him on a path to victory. And Knight's also been an incredibly impressive part of BLG. Of course, we need to talk about Shadow and Elf. They've been popping off so far, but Knight has also been topping a lot of different statistical categories. He's been all over his opponents. Hasn't really been able to establish himself too much of a lead in this individual lane, like he has been against some of his other opponents. But still, getting that early kill gonna go a hell of a long way.
Yeah, it's Knight, right, Bloxer? And I'll use an analogy that you'll love here. It's like even when BLG were a bit shaky, it was never Knight. Just like when some of those Rams teams weren't as great. Aaron Donald was always elite here. As we get away from football and get into ultimates being used, is on charms up both light and crisp, but Elk's a little bit too low to go for anything aggressive, so just a bit of ultimate chicken from our supports.
Absolutely, and nobody decides to go, which is going to help out. You really don't want to be using that Feather Storm earlier on than you otherwise need to. And you're absolutely right, yeah. Even when BLG have looked shaky, Knight has always been one of the best. He was my MVP candidate pretty much all the way through. I ended up going, as everybody ended up going, right? You know, great. But he was definitely my best mid laner last split.
Yeah.
And so far, so good.
Backing on a ward elk, gotta be a bit careful about it. He gets interrupted with a rocket from Light. Both teams barking and jawing at each other, but again, classic all bark no bite coming from these dogs in the bottom lane.
Yep.
Still waiting for BLG to find these aggressive patterns that they're get started. You know, rev the engine a bit. Shadow, it's been a little bit slow, a little bit more cautious, and it's got him in a bit of a hole, especially camp-wise, up against Tian.
He's ended up spending a lot of time in his lanes, trying to go for these plays, but not really being able to find them. Obviously, they make that top lane dive work, which is good. And the Wukong isn't going to be behind, so you're not too worried. Now gets that Trinity Force completed, so he is going a little bit extra aggressive. This is the standard build for the Wukongs at the moment. It does mean you can be a bit squishy if you get fully jumped. You know, you don't have that extra level of healing that the Sun Sky can bring through for you. At the same time, though, it just means that you can rip people's heads off if you get given half a chance. Shadow has been taking that quite often in his previous games, but it's definitely one of the slower early games that we've had recently.
It's not a bad thing for BLG either. They have still accrued a decent chunk of a gold lead through kind of just winning out in farm. The main one being obviously been in that matchup against the Sion that we expected him to come out with a lead. Can BLG execute out of an early game where they don't come away with a big accruing lead again? That's something that we were most worried about from them in Split 2, as we continue to use this early phase of Split 3 to figure out which teams are stuck in their old ways and the others bucking the old trends.
On just being slippery again. This is what you can do with the Rakan. You can just keep constantly stepping up forwards. As long as you've got somebody around to be able to battle dance to, you're so chill.
That's a big chunk. Oh, great Trickster! That is so unfortunate.
Yikes.
Chris thought he had a big bass cop, but instead he just finds an empty line on the other side, and now Chris is going to have to pay for it with his life. He used everything to set up that engage onto Shadow, and Elk is still going to end up chasing him down. Going to use the Featherstorm Blade Claw to secure the kill. Tian jumps in a little bit too far forward. They want to go after Elk, but he does flash over the big pit. Doesn't matter. The rocket finds him over the wall. Light picks up the kill, and the Cyclone will not save Shadow. One more shot from the Spear of Tian. Will he get it? Yes, he will. Wind becomes lightning, and lightning shuts down the monkey.
That's nice from Weibo to be able to turn that one back around. The second that Elk uses the Featherstorm to pick up the kill, it leaves him very, very vulnerable and just isn't able to get to the wall to flash over it quickly enough. 2 for 2 in the end with the kill. Still a small gold lead right here for BLG, but you now manage to get yourself a kill onto Tian and onto Light, exactly who you want to have some of these early gold leads for. Have a look back at this one. Watching this shockwave is so sad. Oh no. It's so rough. Still, it gets turned back around, and this is great. I really like this bit of aggression right here. The shield just coming through from the crash down, otherwise that would have been an easy pickup. Elk probably should have just left this kill well alone, walked back out up towards the river, otherwise, yeah, exactly what happens was quite likely.
Still, for BLG to kind of rescue some of this with a kill of their own after it started out really badly. Like, Shadow gets completely caught. Still a win for Weibo, though. Got their coach a little bit fired up. Gold not evened up just yet, though, because while all that was going on, Knight and Ben kept on farming creeps, get themselves in pretty comfortable positions. Just 4 kills through 15 minutes. Nobody's securing the feats of warfare. Nobody's securing a single feat by this point.
Yeah.
So where do we go to look for that? Well, monster slaying. There's a herald and a dragon up for Weibo to secure that. And not a lot of turrets low enough to really capitalize on. But why do you need turrets when you can just hunt for feats of warfare with a good old dive on the bin? Has flash, has public execution. Could use it to get right back across the engage onto Chris. And look at On fly in with a double charm into the grand entrance. The shockwave from Xiaohu not going to be enough because the turret's the MVP. Remember, that was a dive from Weibo. And they take a dive falling flat on their face going for it.
And they do that instead of just picking up the Drake for themselves, which gives more than enough time for the Rift Herald to be picked up. It's going to be charged into the mid lane. Breathe arrives just about in time to stop this. No, he doesn't. The tower still goes down. And look, topside. Breathe comes down to try to stop that tower going down in the mid lane. And he's now going to lose out onto a huge amount of damage onto the tower topside. Big gold injection for BLG. They get to go and head straight down towards the Drake. And this is just map pressure upon map pressure right now. That is a rough series of plays right here for Weibo.
It's so promising to see BLG playing the map correctly like this. Has been trades his life 1 for 1, but you'll take that. The support gets the kill as he knocks down Xiaohu. And hey, remember when I was talking about good old feats of anything not being taken? BLG in that play took 2 in the matter of 10 seconds. We don't have time to talk about that, though, because the fighting has now just fully broken open. It is a war zone out here across Summoner's Rift as Light tries to knock around Crisp here on the backside of the fight, but the Cyclone does knock up Chris. TPing in is Breathe. Light flashes after Shadow. Try and find that kill. Knight gets knocked off of his Weaver's wall, but the flick back into the flash. The golden left hand is still left standing.
No!
Oh, Breathe. Oh. I have no words.
Me neither. Slayer.
Oh.
This is Group
sloppy.
Ascend, right?
That definitely looked like a Group Nirvana fight.
That was a Group Nirvana fight, if I've ever seen one. Oh, my lord. I mean, hey, to be fair to BLG, they play that one pretty slick. What happens to Bin? He takes a shot for fun. And still comes away with a... he was checking for people, I guess, potentially looking for a reset coming through. Maybe he wanted to know where Tian was to stop any potential steals from coming through, but the fact he's still able to do enough damage in that fight to be able to pick that one up is crazy. And then in this one, this is super interesting. Lycus just heights. He's like, wait, if I wait long enough, then we're going to get the TP coming in, and I can go for this fight. But the damage is just not there. And Knight, every seismic shove he lands onto 3 people or 2 people, however many people are there. Boop.
Boop.
Oh,
bam. See you later.
So
don't show me it. Okay, good. Thank God. Yeah, cut it there. Breathe didn't do anything after that, guys. Don't worry.
It's how long Breathe stands there thinking about it. Like, he's got time until his E comes back up to consider if this is a good idea, and he chooses yes.
And Weibo fans say no. Weibo now in a tough spot, down 3k gold. It's really the swing that came across from that Herald play in the mid lane into the feats of war, the failed dive that really burns them. Because not only are they down 3k gold, they're even up in dragons. No feats of strength. They have long wave to answer for in the top side and in the mid lane by this point. They're getting kind of cornered already as we crest the 20-minute mark.
Absolutely, and that's going to come even stronger through for them 6 minutes time, right? Once we've now got the Baron up and available, if you haven't been able to even up and at least take down that mid lane tower, if not the top lane tower as well, then all of a sudden it's just so much easier for BLG to be able to step up and set up around the Baron. Still, Baron not going to be here for 5 minutes time. Instead, it is going to be the Atakan in 30 seconds. And you can see you've got Knight and Breathe currently up on the top side of the map, duking it out over those waves, but no TPs on either of them, so Knight's going to head down.
Shadow was running at Tian with torrential pace, and maybe it was because On is here, gets the Charm, Great Entrance combo, public execution, everything dumped onto Tian. The Shockwave, not enough to save his jungler. Xiaohu has to watch Tian fall, and likely watch the last tier 1 turret they have up fall after that. Light is here to try and cover, but their structure is gone. It might even be an Otacon turn here if BLG are feeling feisty.
Absolutely, it should be 20 seconds now until the jungler's going to be available, and you've just blown a lot to try to save onto your jungler. They actually don't go towards it. This is a
Chris
lot of
is so
restraint. I'm
confused right
surprised. I know. You think they're surely going to go for it. Instead, BLG, they just head back to base. And to be fair, I like the restraint they're exhibiting. It was a very quiet early game. They managed to find that dive top lane. Then again, they were okay with it being quiet. They found a couple good fights. And now they head back to base, critically because you've got 2 items completed, right? Yes, we could go for a fight right now, but we could instead go get Flickerbait. We could go get ourselves a Sundered Sky. All of these big item breakpoints that now put your composition well and truly online.
Restraint in BLG. Words I felt foreign in Split 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the new look sample size has got fans feeling positive about this team. And in the very small, even narrower sample size of game 1, like their odds to bring this one home. Otacon, though, going to be one of the deciding places to break this thing open for BLG. Shadow and On teaming up to try and battle and win that vision game. You got Knight answering the topside wave. The Breathe does push in, but again, they have a turret up there that's still standing to be able to cover. Knight has TP to join the fight whenever. Breathe is not walking back top, so Knight's going to shove one more way towards that tier 2 turret, but might not have enough time with On taking a serious amount of damage from a 2-item Moramana completed Light.
Yeah. Light does a lot of damage when he's allowed to deal it. This was our worry coming into this game, though. You highlighted it excellently, Slayer. Does he get to step up close enough to actually be able to do that? So far, the answer has been no. But when he does, when he's able to actually just unload onto somebody, he has got a huge amount of damage to be able to play with. Now, Drake has spawned. This would be the second Drake for whoever's able to pick it up. Weibo, they've actually got priority on towards the pit, but now with the push being put through from Elk in the mid lane, Wander on down, and BLG, they've got to feel good about going for a fight right here.
Good chunk damage, though, from Xiaohu. Oriana's starting to hurt onto Shadow. Weibo have dropped the top wave to try and contend tier. It's going to be pushing back towards their turret, though, so no real threat on the tier 2 turret right now. Just a standstill on this bot side with how many juicy neutrals there are to take here. The Otacon and Dragon started up simultaneously. There is a ward on the pit that is giving Weibo a clue. The BLG are just going for this Drake. They're trying to drag it away. Weaver's Wall comes out from Knight. Tian and Xiaohu are on the right side of it. Tian gets into the pit. Breathe, holding everyone at bay, but we're just going to 50-50 this thing. Coin flip it, and the Blade Caller of Elk wins it. Shadow can use the Trickster to create some space away from Tian, but they do catch out Bin on the top side. It goes a little bit too far forward. Has to flash out. On using the Charm, though, to provide him just enough coverage to get back out of dodge.
On's looked really, really good so far on this Rakan, has been doing work and keeping his members alive. This is just going to be a full shove down onto this bottom lane tower. Do they even have enough damage to be able to do it? Yes.
They should have just enough. But they take a lot of damage, including Otacon way out of its home base. I like this.
On, which they could just go for this.
Do they let the bases complete to go for the Otacon, or do they go for the wrap? They're going to go for the wrap. It's BLG. What am I talking about? They want to be aggressive. On shows it. Flashes forward to get the grand entrance. Chris has to answer with his own flash. And now BLG. They have all the control in the world to burn this Otacon, and Burn might be putting it lightly. My lord, Bloxer.
Yeah, this is very fast. Otacon is one of the slowest moving objectives usually, and this one has just been melted straight through. BLG, they're going to be able to pick this one up nice and easily. I love the way that they are both restrained and aggressive in equal measure, and when they need to be on specifically is continually going forwards, landing these grand entrances, but also then being able to just jump back, you know, dancing his way through. Shadow is pushed away from stealing away a red buff.
On gets caught. Oh, the Bloxer caster curse. They finally find the Rakan, and now all bets are off. Weibo are chasing after Shadow. The Cyclone, the Trickster, can he get towards Light? Yes, just to give himself that shutdown kill. Little bit too pesky on the invade, and now BLG are paying the toll, and Bin's the next one to fall. Remember, he already used his flash earlier. A lifeline opening up wide for Weibo Gaming.
Everything was going wrong for Weibo, but they punish BLG on the over-aggression, and it all stems off the fact that On doesn't know that there's a Scion fully charging up a decimating smash in the bush. The second that that one lands, he's dead. We can see it from the god cam that we've got, but he has absolutely no idea, and that's a huge fight to win, not just because of the gold it gets back, the shutdowns that you pull on over to your team, but also we've got ourselves this Baron spawning very, very soon, and winning a fight just before then to get you to those items. Shadow should be fine here. Shadow can just walk out to this blast cone. On going in is bad. He has no clue whatsoever about the fact that Breathe is charging up a Q in that bush, and it ruins the fight for them. And the second that the Rakan's gone, that's every bit of restraint taken off of Weibo Gaming. They don't have to worry about constantly getting knocked up anymore. They can just run it.
And what's the real win, it feels like, Bloxer? Or the best part of this?
Yeah.
There's 3 kills here for Weibo.
Yeah.
Light gets all 3 of them. This Corki's now already got a Spear of Shojin done completely by that. Gets even in gold with Elk. Prior to that whole entire sequence, he was down about 1.3k alone.
Yep. Grabbing a shutdown and 2 other kills is just a great way to get yourself back into the game. Everybody knows that. And Weibo, they managed to pull it off exactly as they would have wanted it. Still, they are finding themselves in a bit of a deficit, right? The deficit coming through mainly in the top and the mid lane at the moment. That being said, right, the Sion's getting tanky either way, whether or not you're down a couple thousand gold. 2 items completed now as well, so he's going to be incredibly annoying to get through. He's even decided to get himself just a little bit of extra anti-auto, so Elk not even going to be doing anywhere near as much damage to the Sion as he would usually.
Great itemization too here from Breathe. He's just stacking armor at this point.
Yeah.
It's such a smart move.
If Knight kills him, so be it.
Yeah, and Talia, unless you're disgustingly ahead, isn't known for huge burst combos where you have no way to respond. It's kind of a poke and prod your way down with this champion if you're tankier. So great itemization for Breathe, who is not present for this play as Chris goes to the double crash down. Featherstorm coming across. The TP's coming in for Breathe, but Chris booked a one-way trip towards the fountain. The TP's just a bit too late. Weibo is disjointed, trying to make up their mind whether to go in or go out. And they got to go out one way or another from this Baron play.
Yeah, that's now going to open up the Baron, and we saw already just how quickly this composition from BLG can melt through objectives. You can see, again, Elk is just shredding this thing. It's down below half.
4v5. Tian's got to get in there. BLG, though, public execution hits back onto Xiaohu. Breathe, those going to create some distance. The Cyclone comes across. Huge crescent guard. Knocks a lot of members of BLG off the back of this fight. Tian's able to single out Bin, but the blade color, the damage from Elk's Zaya is very, very potent. He's going to have to flash away from Tian. Kiting back safely. Gets another blade color down.
Elk.
It's all on Elk. And boy, does he just smash down Weibo.
Every single one of those blade callers lands, stunning people up, and he's just able to shred through the opposition. That's going to be straight back onto the Baron. Crisp is here, though. Teleport coming in from Xiaohu. They have to walk away from this Baron, otherwise you're going to get your heads ripped off with just so much Orianna damage available. Still, the Baron doesn't go over. The kills do, though, and you get even more gold into Elk's back pocket.
And a dragon up, so they can get themselves to Infernal Soul Point. I don't think Xiaohu and Chris were comfortable trying to contest this. It's still, 10 seconds on Breathe without teleport. Yeah, they're going to have to give this. So they don't get the main course. They'll take an appetizer. Infernal Soul Point for BLG.
Oh, BLG. I mean, what a set of performances they have had so far this split. And this fight, it gets kicked off by the fact that Bin gets into the backline in such a big way. The Crescent Guard nearly ruins it. It nearly manages to buy enough time for them to turn, kill Bin, and then make the rest of the fight work, but they can't. Watch Elk in this one. Blade Caller lands through the zombie clone, which is the most important bit. If he doesn't land it onto both his opponent alive and his opponent that's dead, he falls in that situation. But he manages to hit it, and he can just keep on playing this one out. Elk in such a strong position now. He's got those 3 items completed, a BF sword as well in inventory. He's hitting like a truck. So is Knight. Yes, it's going to take them a while to get through Breed, but all of the other members, they are very squishy to them.
Oh, okay. Support straight ultimates, but the charm still layers onto Chris. Let's test that damage from Knight. Chris is able to stomach a lot of it.
Yep.
But as the Baron setup continues here, Bloxer, the end of that replay we saw was the shortcomings of this Corki from Light. He flashed over the wall, tries to get the big kill onto the Zaya, doesn't have enough range, and the takeaway that needs to be present now for the next Baron call, he burned both of his summoners to try and make that play work.
Yeah, indeed he did, and that could really change things right here.
And he doesn't have a Featherstorm, right?
So. No, he doesn't get to just leap up into the air and run away now, does he? He has to play this one out, and again, we'll keep highlighting it because it's right. Light has to get very close to be able to deal the big damage. He doesn't get to sit really far back, and he doesn't get to jump into the air. And now without the flash, without the barrier, that's going to be quite tough. He's still got another 2 or so minutes until that flash is going to be available. Barrier's coming back sooner. Still, BLG, they've got complete and utter control around this Baron pit. They've got themselves a push going in the bot side as well, so they are well set up to be able to start this objective whenever they want to, or to just bait in a fight.
Alright, they're getting some decent damage on to Breathe, but it's always a bit of a risky play to dump a ton into a 2.5 item Scion. Bin going to be spotted trying to set up another public execution wrap of his own. Here we go. Unstoppable onslaught charge forward. Forces out the Featherstorm, but Chris has him in place. They have completely knocked Elk out of this fight at first, but it doesn't matter because look who flies in from the wings. It's both Bin and Shadow to take out Light. What does the fight look like with neither of these big-time marksmen? It looks like Knight is dancing around Chris, and Tian, who's Crescent Guard, will protect him. No longer. No Elk. No problem. BLG are going to find themselves a wipe of a fight, and Breathe might not even live through his giant health bar. No, he will not. Bilibili Gaming, ace down home.
It's still going to be a trade back. Breathe at least manages to pick one up, but Knight is going to be alive. Bin's going to be alive, and with a wave already pushing in right here, they can crack open the base of Weibo. It's 15 seconds until some of these big carries are back up and available. This is not going to be the end of the game, but still, to have the base open at this point in the game is huge right here for BLG, and that's a fight where they lose Elk right at the very beginning, and it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all. It's both these engages on either team saying, all right, you know what? We're killing either marksman right off rip.
Yeah, exactly. You see everything gets blown. Crisp, Tian, Breathe, leaping straight on top of Elk, and there's absolutely nothing he can do. And as you highlighted perfectly, you get one key carry for 2. Both the Orianna and the Corki get taken down right at the very start of that fight. And then from this point on, the only reason this fight gets a little bit more even is because Breathe is a big tanky boy, and the zombie deals a lot of damage. It doesn't matter though in the end. I think interestingly and potentially also good in this situation right here for BLG is that the Baron still hasn't gone down, because it means they get to keep threatening the Baron, and Weibo has to keep walking into them for these fights.
And Elk now has both his Summers back up. He has Ghost and Flash, so a little bit more protection, that he still has that advantage over Light by this point.
Yeah.
So we've seen BLG now win a fight losing their AD carry first. We've seen them win a fight, their AD carry being one of the last ones standing. Really going to inspire confidence. Also besides the fact that, oh, they're up about 5k gold. Oh, they now get to threaten Baron and an Infernal Soul at the same point. Weibo are stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Absolutely they are, and they're getting forced up towards the top side of the map. They don't want to give up this Baron. That could well spell the end of the game with that mid lane inhibitor down. But giving over Infernal Soul as well, just going to be so tricky. That's the joy of getting yourself to this point in the game. You get to pick which of these objectives you think is more important. Right now, it's just going to be some fighting over the mid wave. But if an engage Tian, he's not going to overly aggress onto that one. Obviously, he still has the Crescent Guard available to keep him alive. The Drake now going to be spawning in 5 seconds time. Weibo, they have no access to the pit. Ooh, interesting teleport from Bin. He teleports towards the bottom side.
I wonder, okay. So Bin, I thought Bin and Knight may try and burn down that Drake on their own. But the by spotting the Baron start, they get pulled off of that. They do get control of this mid wave, like you called out, that has super minions.
Yeah,
and I wonder if there's a base racing angle or just breaking down the front door if you're BLG. Got Weibo, and it's such a tough spot. Look, they can't decide what they want to do. Do they back out? Do they fight? Do they go for the Baron? Almost making a decision for them. Gets the multiple knockup, slips on out. Bin in the middle of all 5 members of Weibo, but he's taking a hell of a long time to die, and the GA does pop. Bin has done his job, distracted all of Weibo, and look at Shadow slipping in undisguised, but Light has more than enough damage to put him down, and it's once again the AD carries become the prime, distinct pedestal of this team fight. But even with the zombified corpse of Breathe, Weibo are just out of juice, out of health bars, and out of ways to escape. The route that's coming, the golden left hand wants more blood. On puts him up. Another knockup comes across, and Breathe, Knight will find the kill, and flashing forward is Elk to find the ace. There it is, open lane mid. BLG are going to take our first game 1-0.
It's a bit of a messy team fight, but it doesn't matter, and that's the joy for BLG when they've got themselves those super minions pouring in through the base. They just have to make sure the fight lasts long enough that these towers begin to fall. Crisp is going to respawn. Breathe and Tian are up in 9 seconds time.
Oh, I really thought they could end.
They don't even go for the end. No, I thought they were going to go push for the end as well. It should still secure them this Infernal Soul.
Oh, yeah.
This game, it does actually continue on.
Oh, all right.
TP topside.
Let's
Do
breathe.
they try rush the Baron?
Trying to set up maybe a Scion ult angle down here. Elk and
You
Bin are
have
way
no
too
jump.
low, and now they're spotted. They're going to keep going for it. Not afraid to breathe to come across the river. Infernal Soul picked up, and Shadow doing a really good job making sure nobody's getting cheeky towards that Baron pit.
Yeah, a bit of a wasted teleport. It was unfortunate. Tian was having to catch the super minion wave in the mid lane. Couldn't go sprint up towards the Drake and try to steal that one away when there was no jungler in the area. Couldn't head topside to go and try start that Baron up because Shadow is body blocking it. And hey, we've been here for 10 straight minutes, Slayer, where we've been looking at the Baron, it's been postured around, it's been started, it's been tickled, but nobody's full committed to trying to take this one down yet.
Still bodes well for BLG because through all this chaos, they've just gotten infinitely stronger. The gold lead is bigger, which means the items are more potent for a lot of their other carries. Infernal Soul makes this gold lead even bigger.
Melts.
And the same thing is true of Bloxer. Elk melts neutral objectives. Tian doesn't even sniff the pit before this one goes over. Weaver's Wall comes down from Knight.
Oh, it's
Xiaohu's
great.
cut off. There's no way for the Orion to get in, so they go after Tian. The Crescent Guard does hit 3 members. Can Xiaohu get a big shockwave off? He's still waiting on it. Gets on, but look at Elk over the wall once again, just dealing out tons of
Bin.
damage that nobody on Weibo has an answer for. Shadow flies in, Bin on the back end, trying to make sure nobody can escape, but nobody can shut down this big bad Xayah alongside Knight. The range damage dealers for BLG, again the focal point for a fight win.
That Baron lasted all of about 2 seconds, and that wasn't even with Knight hitting it. Now you've got the Baron buff available to you. This top lane tier 2 tower going to fall very, very quickly. What else can you get for this? You do not have that mid lane inhibitor down again. Knight going to get chased by Tian, and he has very little mana.
Oh, but he's got an Infernal Soul.
Nope.
Doesn't matter. Tian shuts down his old friend to the tune of 1,000+ gold.
BLG making closing this game out seem a little bit harder than it feels like it otherwise should be. I think the snap decision to go try end the game, which we both agreed with at the time, maybe has cost them time. Whether or not it's going to cost them the game, you're still in a very strong position, right? You're still up almost 10,000 gold. But they could have won that fight, instantly grabbed themselves the Baron, instantly grabbed themselves the Dragon, and then gone for fights. Instead, things have been delayed. You're getting more items down onto your opponent's carries, right? Xiaohu's now doing a ton. This is going to be 4 items and a BF sword completed onto Light, so when he's allowed to deal damage, he's a problem. But I think more importantly is just how massive Breathe is. He's causing such big problems in the backline. They can't get through his health bar.
On the other side for BLG, item-wise, you do have this GA done for Elk. Extra safety, already a big advantage in his marksman matchup. Curious to see if Bin's also comes online. I think that one's the more important because he's kind of just there to take space and make the backline sweat. He doesn't mind dying if he buys enough time for Elk and Knight, and the GA just makes that such a bigger issue for Weibo.
Exactly, and it does also give him just a little bit of extra to hit people with too. I like this pickup. I like the fact that he can play a little bit freer in these team fights. Push coming through on the bottom side of the map. The wave is moving away from BLG in the top side though, so they're not going to be able to sync up all 3 waves. That's going to make it a little bit harder potentially to be able to push forwards. Not having a mid lane tower to contend with though does help quite a lot. And there's not really anybody who feels comfortable enough right now to step up and take out this Baron Empowered Cannon. And there it goes finally, but you're going to get another one pouring in pretty soon.
Yeah, I like the 4-1 here. Knight, though, is going to drop the Weaver's Wall. This is a good strategy to knock down the tier 3 turret, but the Shockwave hits onto Elk. It's chunked down to about half HP. Weibo trying to push forward to punish them for the redemption comes across. There's the crash down from Chris, but once again, Bin finds Xiaohu. He weaves the public execution through, and boy, does it take the wind out of the sails. It might have taken 10 minutes extra, but it's still BLG coming out on top in our opening bout.
This for the battle for second place right here in Group Ascend. Gonna go BLG's way in game number 1. Pick this one up. The wave down in the bottom side of the map is going to wander on through for them. Yes, it did take a little bit of extra time, Slayer, but it doesn't matter in the end. BLG look revitalized. Shadow has been so much to this team, but in this game, Elk has been ripping heads.
Elk finishes with a standing stat line, 20 KP and 1 death for Knight. Ooh, that was a fun one, even if it shouldn't have gone as long as you would want it to if you are BLG. It's a win nonetheless.
It's a mistake to try push for the end when you couldn't quite manage it. I mean, I'm not surprised they went for it. I think everybody looking at their screens was like, oh cool, this game's done. The death time is just not quite long enough at that point in the game, but it's not the end of the world. I'm not mad at them for not being able to pick up the win 10 minutes quicker. The important thing is that they do grab the win in the end, and in overall dominant fashion. And I love the way that they played aggressive and restrained. We were talking about it earlier on in the game, where there was kind of just nothing happening. We were just watching the map states happen. BLG, they find a good angle to go for a dive topside, they take it, pick up the kill, and then they just go back to chilling until they can then go for another play around the bottom side of the map. They slowed things down, got to those item breakpoints, and then went for fights. One or two moments, yes, where they went a little bit too aggressive, but for the most part, they were taking the correct fights almost every time.
They were. It was just a couple of overextensions, and it definitely always felt like Weibo were on the back foot to try and create some advantages of their own. And there were a couple of members who kind of fell silent in this game. Mainly, I think it was Xiaohu. I didn't see any huge shockwaves from this Orianna that really had a big impact. And I'm glad you called it out. The way these team fights played out, they were hectic, but it always benefited BLG being able to like split the fights into the front line versus the back line.
Absolutely. It was almost every single time that the lines were not drawn and things got messy instantaneously, and that's in part because of the champions we've got in this game, right? It's very hard to try to stop a Xin Zhao from getting into the backline. Same thing with an Ambessa. Those two are always going to cross paths. They're always going to go in past each other. And so once that happens, it's then on whose ADC is going to be able to survive for a little bit longer, who's going to have extra repositioning to keep themselves alive. Well, in this game, you've got yourself an Orianna, which has some self-peel with the ulti, but otherwise very squishy, very immobile, and a Corki. One jump away, squishy, kind of immobile. And then you're into someone like a Talia, and like the Xayah, who can either jump into the air or bop you back. There's so much more self-peel for these carries right here on BLG, and it means in these messy fights, they're nowhere near as worried about it.
And yeah, the difference on the other side, you talked about the safety of the BLG backline. You think about the threat on the Weibo backline as well. It's like a Sion versus an Ambessa. Ben is going to have way more threat onto Xiaohu and Light than you get from Breathe. On is so slippery with these charms. Tian versus this Wukong. Like the Wukong's better at diving backline. We thought BLG had a much more succinct draft, and though the fights did end up getting close, it does feel like the draft difference when both comps executed the way they wanted to was what defined this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just misplay after misplay from Weibo, not necessarily in the teamfights. I don't think they were necessarily playing those teamfights bad, but it was the map positioning, the map decisions beforehand that were really ruining what they were trying to do, as you're highlighting brilliantly. And looking back at these fights, right, every single time it's messy. This one specifically was the biggest one, where you blow everything to pick up Elk, but you lose both of your main carries in the process. Is that really worthwhile? I mean, obviously, the answer is no. Breathe was a shining light, I'd say, for Weibo in this game, but part of that has to be attributed to the fact that I think Sion's the best top player in the game. This champion's so strong.
I was going to say, it's not a high bar to clear to have an effective Sion game in a lot of game states, so I'm glad that you put that cautionary tale on it. I want to get a look at this last fight, because as we continue to talk about the difference between, it's so fun, like the fight we just saw was BLG winning with the sort of backline attack way, where they got to the carries, deleted them first. This fight, I feel like, was much more won by the fact that Elk gets enough space to take down Tian, to take down Breathe once again. So that's a frontline kind of win fight. Yeah. And the final one goes back. It keeps flipping and flopping. I really want to look at how does Bin connect this public execution that we're going to see onto Xiaohu.
Magic. Bending bullets. I don't actually know how he manages to weave it through as well as he does, but it was incredibly impressive to see. I hope we get a replay of it.
It took a hot minute to get these last two kills.
There was a lot of fighting. It kept going.
There was a lot of
didn't
fighting.
Stop. Yeah. I think I would also like to highlight the fact that On had, I'd say, a very impressive Rakan game. Yes, he made that whoopsie.
One slip up, yeah.
Yeah, one whoopsie where he went in when he definitely shouldn't have done, and I think it's worth criticizing him for that, because people have been quite harsh about On. There's all the on-off jokes, of course, and for good reason. He's made some mistakes, let's say. He's had some iffy plays
Here we go. Oh, they're zooming in. They know. Oh, well, yeah. First, the shockwave. But keep your eyes on Ben at the top.
How does he... Yeah, how does he...
Oh, yeah, there he is. He sees it. Look how early he sees it. Yep. That was it. Beautiful.
He hits that because Tian's in front of him. Tian's right in front of him as that goes, but he's got the crescent guard up. I think that means that he just flies straight through him in that situation.
That's a good question. But again, like we saw, right? It's the push and pull, this backline, frontline execution from BLG that was so inspiring. Backline has to back up, opens up for the dive to go through. It was really fun to watch because that's a comp that so many times executes poorly because you can have so many missed inputs between those combinations. Let's talk MVPs though. Bloxer. I think Elk deserves a shout. I think Knight deserves a shout. I think On is like the sneaky MVP that won't really get one here.
Yeah, I think On would be perfectly reasonable in getting it. He had so many great engages. I think Knight should probably get it. That was a monster Talia game.
Okay.
Bin.
You
know what?
I did not see this one coming.
I'm okay with it though. I'm okay with this. I'm
not.
No?
I think some of these stats are like misleading. I think gold difference at end was going to be clear because he was into a Scion matchup. The damage share is not high. If you want to give it to him because he finds the last clutch angle in a game that felt really back and forth, sure. But definitely would have been like third on my list, maybe even lower.
Yeah.
What do we know?
I agree. There's other people who potentially needed more, but hey, it was a really nice public execution at the end, and it's a show of just how good of a win it was, how much of a team win it was from BLG, that almost everybody, all of their lanes, could potentially have picked themselves up an MVP there.
MVP going over there to Bin. Congratulations, BLG. Trying to start their first 3 series with only dropping a single game, and even that one was to the team that took away a Split 2 championship from them. Weibo, once again, on the back foot, as expected against BLG. They will be back likely on the blue side to try and keep this series alive. We'll find out on the other side of the break if we got ourselves a full slate of LPL action today with 6 games, or if BLG continue what many are calling the honeymoon phase of Shadow joining as the 3rd jungler they've had in 2025. All that and more coming to